Hello, my name is Tylluan. I'm a solitary pagan witch, I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press, and today's little chat is going to be about being very careful of doomsayers. Now, there is an awful lot of gloom and doom around at the moment, and quite why this should be, well, my theory is that it's a way of controlling us. If you make people frightened, if you make them afraid, you can control them. It's like if you're in the habit of beating a dog. It will either go wild and bite you, or more often it will just shiver and cower in a corner, which is terrible. Same with children. And I think that's what is trying to be done collectively to people. Let's get them frightened of everything, frightened of war, frightened of the world catching fire, frightened of the world getting covered in snow, frightened of flooding, frightened of everything drying up. It doesn't matter. You look at the papers and it's all... I don't say it's nonsense, because I'm sure a lot of it isn't. But what they try to do is they have you looking this way, looking that way, looking this way. And I'm sure I must have told this story about one particular newspaper that does this a lot in the UK. And it's known for propagating hatred as well. And there I was, I'd gone down to the hospital in Cardiff, which is the big university hospital. So it's a little distance from where I live. And I had to wait for a lift to come and pick me up. And while I was there, I went into the little waiting area. And there were quite a few people there. I thought they were all older than me, but actually thinking back on it, they were probably younger. I always think I'm younger than I am. Anyway, they were all sitting there reading this paper, so their heads down. And the other thing that was funny was some of them folded the paper back so they could hold it with one hand. And that was because with the other hand, they were doing this. And they were sitting there like this, frozen in fear, chewing their nails. Now, I chew my fingernails, as anybody knows who knows me. I've always chewed my nails. I've always been a nervous wreck, but that's another story. But they were sitting there reading the paper with all its predictions of doom and gloom and chewing their nails and looking absolutely terrified. Now, if it could do that to a couple of people in the waiting area of the University Hospital of Wales, what do you think it does nationwide or worldwide? Because I'm sure you've got it in other countries too. So when we start to look at these things, we've got to think to ourselves, what are they really trying to do to us? I mean, sometimes they're telling us one bit of news to make us not notice something else. That's a given. But often they come out with things, and in the same newspaper you'll find that the end of October is going to be extremely cold and we'll have snow, or that the end of October is going to be a heat wave. Now, it can't be both, unless it's in different parts of the country, and that's not what it said. And another nasty little habit they've got, they always say, round about this time of year, sometimes a bit later, they start on about experts say, and please, always, always be very wary of anything that says experts say. Tell you why in a minute. Experts say we're going to have the coldest winter in a century. Experts say we're going to have more snow this year than in the past 20 years. And on it goes. Now, why do we have to be careful of this? Well, because a lot of these experts are what you would call self-proclaimed experts. In other words, they are legends in their own lunchtime, as Mr. Penry likes to put it. Legends in their own lunchtime. They believe they're experts. But if you look it up and you check it, you find that they're not really experts at all. They've set up a firm that does weather predicting. Doesn't mean they're an expert. And the newspapers are using these same quotes every year for the past, 15 years? And we haven't had the coldest winter in a century yet, so we will get one eventually, and they'll say they've been proved right, but they haven't, because they've been predicting the same damn thing every year. And that's not really a prediction, that's a fear. So that's that. There you have that. So just be very careful of these things. And likewise within paganism and magic, people who proclaim themselves experts. I am an elder. Well, I'm an elder, if you call it being old. Good grief, I'm getting old. I dread to think of it sometimes, I think, oh, well, next year, and then I think, blimey, next year I'm going to be, and I'm not telling. But they're acting as though I'm an elder, therefore you've got to listen to me, and they're about 20 years younger than me. And being elder doesn't make you more sensible. I've known some very old people who are as daft as a brush. It doesn't matter. You listen to someone if they've got something worth hearing. Not because they tell you you've got to listen because, hey, they're so important. It doesn't work. So that's another one, I mean, it's like going back, I talked the other day about my little granddaughter, and I mean, she would come up with the most magical, wonderful things. Much wiser than many an adult. And I think to myself, well, she is wise. She's not wise about everything, nobody is. But she is very wise with some of the stuff she says. And that's how you judge people. You judge them by, well, the Bible says, by their fruits. And actually, it's not a bad saying. You judge them by what they're coming out with, not because they tell you to judge them. And I think that's very... It's a path we should be looking at. Don't fall into it. Oh, so-and-so says he's an elder or she's an elder. We've got to follow that. No, you haven't. No. It's like somebody claiming to be an expert photographer, but you don't like their photos. Well, if you don't like their photos because they're out of focus or, they've chopped people's heads off in the photographs, well then, yes, they're not experts. It may just be that you don't like their subject matter. You don't like them always putting up photos of brick walls or something. You might think, well, that's pretty boring. It doesn't really show they're an expert. Well, fair enough. We have to try and hone our skills. We have to try and make ourselves a bit more wise. And we can do that. There's lots of things you can do. I mean, one of the great ones is puzzles. I love puzzles, I must be honest. I'm not fond of code words because my eyesight isn't very good, and looking at those, no, can't do it, can't see them properly. But some things, yes, if it's picking up patterns and numbers and odds and ends, yeah, great. Even crosswords, if they're not too cryptic. Oh, there we go, hang on. I'll finish there. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.